Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to show you how you can keep track of killed enemies so that way when you exit your game and load up a level again, you don't have to kill the same enemies. So you see here we're going to start a new game and I have a whole bunch of these dummy enemies here. So we're going to take out this guy, and this guy. So every other dummy enemy. So we have 4 left out of the 7. I'm going to save here. We'll hit escape. And now I'm going to load in my saved game. And as you can see, we are missing every other enemy. And I'm going to show you guys how you can implement a system like this. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to need to do, we're going to right click here in the content browser, and we're going to go to blueprints, and we're going to create a struct. And we'll call this enemy data. I already have one. Enemy stuff, whatever. We'll open this up and we'll just make 2 variables in here. Depending on how much information you want to save, you can make as many variables as you want in here. First one I'm going to do is call enemy class, and the second one is going to be enemy index. The index will make an integer, and the class we will make an object type, an actor, or you can, so we're going to have a class reference here if you want to be able to have different types of enemies with different classes. I'm just going to search for my dummy enemy class, and we'll hit save, and we can close out of this. Then we're going to go into our dummy enemy, so whatever character you want that you're going to be saving for your game here. So in my case it's this dummy enemy. We'll double click on him and get rid of this. And we are going to go to the capsule component, and we're going to make an overlap event, and this is really just for testing purposes so that I can kill my enemy easily. For you guys it'll be whenever their health goes down to 0, whatever you guys are doing with that. Yeah, this is basically going to kill my enemy, so I'm just going to cast to third person, and if it's true, destroy. Okay. And then we're going to come in here into our enemy and we're going to make a variable enemy stuff, and it's going to be of type enemy stuff. And what we want to do with this is check this little I here, because this will allow us to change it in editor. So we'll hit compile and save, and we can change our enemy class here to the dummy enemy. And that's all we're going to need to do in our dummy enemy. Now if we go into our level, you'll see each one of our dummy enemies here. And we're going to need to go down into the editor where it says enemy stuff, and we're going to need to make sure these indexes are different. So for the first one it'll be 0, the second one will have 1, 2, and so on. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to use a get all actors of class node in a little bit, and that will jumble up these enemies, so you won't be able to consistently know which enemies were killed and which ones weren't if you don't have something like an integer variable sitting on them that doesn't change. Okay? So now that we've set all of that stuff up, we'll have to open up our game instance and our saved game. So I'm not going to go over how to save and load games. I'm assuming you guys already have something like that set up. I'm just going to show you guys what you need to add to that so that this stuff will all work. So we're going to add a variable here, and this is going to be enemy stuff level 1, and I'll write save next to it so I don't get it confused with the game instance. And this is going to be of type enemy stuff, and we'll make it an array. Hit compile and save, and that's all you need in the save game. In your game instance, wherever you're running your function to save your game and load your game, however you guys are doing that, and this is mine that's going to save the game. So I create a save game object here, and I save all of the game instance data out to the save game object variables. You're just going to add a couple more. Oh, sorry, and I forgot one more in the save game that we're going to need. And this is just because I kind of made this a hacky thing, so from save game, and that'll be a bool. Let me write save next to this, and you'll see why we need that later. Now you can close this, and this is my save game object, so I'll be able to set the enemy stuff, and I'll be able to set from save game. And then what I'm going to need to do is make two similar variables in the game instance here. So call this enemy stuff level 1 game, and that will be of type enemy stuff, and make this an array, and we'll just be able to drag this out, get, and we'll set. We'll hook this up here. The other one we're going to need to make is from save game, and this will be a bool, and we don't need an array, so drag this out, say get, and we're going to set that. Like this. And just so we make sure that this is correct, we'll set this, because anytime I save a game here, I'm going to know that we're going to load from a saved game. So anytime I use this function, I'm going to make sure that that's true. And again, this is just a little hacky thing that I'm doing because this isn't a full-fledged game with, you know, a bunch of levels and things like that where this system is implemented. So I'm just going to make sure that anytime I push the Z key in my case and it saves a game, this is going to make sure that we know we're loading from a saved game. And we'll put that here and save it out. And then we'll come here into our load game. Again, what we're going to do from the load game is now we're going to pull from our saved game object here, and we'll say get enemy stuff. And the other thing we want to get from save game. And now we're just going in reverse. We're going to set the game instance to the save game when we load, and same thing for this one. We'll set the game instance to what the save game object is, and then we'll open up our level. So hit compile and save, and that's all we need to do here in the game instance. Now we'll come into our level blueprint. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff except this Z key here. We'll use that again. And this down here is just to delete stuff out of our save game, so you guys don't really have to worry about that. Okay, so this is what we're going to use to save. So when we push the Z key and I want to save out our game, or however you guys end up saving your game, I'm going to say get all actors of class, and I want to look for our dummy enemies. Now that I have all of them, so if we killed 3 or 4 of them, this will only have the remaining enemies that are left in the level. And then we're going to want to get our game instance. We will cast to the game instance that you're using. You can right click here and convert this to a pure cast because I know it'll succeed. And now I'm going to get some variables out of our game instance. We want to get the enemy stuff array. And the first thing we want to do is clear it, just in case we have already saved and this is our second or third time playing the level. So we'll make sure that that array is completely clear when we start. And then we're going to take this and we're going to check the length. And we'll make sure that it's greater than 0. And we'll have a branch. We'll hook this up like that, and we'll hook the clear up to this. Then if this is true, we're going to take for each loop, and what we want to do is add to this array here. But what we're going to add is not the actor itself. We're just going to add the information that the actor contains. So we will get enemy stuff, because every time you start up a new level, you're going to have new instances of your enemies. So you won't really be able to remember anything that's contained on an instance of that enemy. So we're just going to remember this, the enemy stuff here. And then we're going to get our game instance here, and I'm going to call my function to save the game, or however you guys are saving, whatever function actually does the saving, that's what you're going to want to call right after that. Off of the false, we can have a reroute node, and basically we just want to skip this loop here because there's nothing to save. We can hit compile and save. The other thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to right click here and create a blueprint class. We'll make this an actor, and we'll call this Grim Reaper 2. And this guy's sole purpose is going to be to determine which one of these enemies stays and which one is killed. So we'll just drag him into the world. We'll double click here, we'll open him up. And what we're going to do in our Grim Reaper is we're going to create a custom event. So we'll right click, custom event, call it Death Angel. And I found that this needs a little bit of a delay to work to make sure all of the instances of your enemies have been placed in the level. And then we're again going to get game instance. And we're going to cast to our game instance. You can right click and make it a pure cast. And now we're going to get the enemy stuff array. We'll get the length. We'll make sure this is greater than 0. And the other thing we want to get out of here is say get from save game. So if this is a saved game and our length is greater than 0, we're going to need to do something with our enemies. So I'll have an and we'll hook that up to a branch node. Like this. And then we're going to want to get all actors. So from begin play, we're going to say get all actors of class, because our level is going to create all of the instances of our dummy enemy that we have placed in the level, so it'll be 7. But we don't want all of them to necessarily be present when the player starts. So we'll right click here, we'll promote this to a variable, and this will be our enemy array. And we're going to take that enemy array and we're going to loop through it. And we're going to find out which one of these enemies should still be alive and which ones shouldn't. And that'll be based off of this array. So whichever ones got saved in here will still be alive. Now we need to loop through this, the enemy stuff array, for each one of these enemies that we have to see which ones are still alive. So it's going to be a loop nested within another loop. The problem is we need a loop with break, but the generic for each loop with break, this one here, no matter what happens, whether the loop actually completes or you break the loop, it will always execute this complete. And what we want is, if it loops through this entire array, if it loops through this entire array here, and it doesn't find anything, so the loop actually completes, that means that the enemy was not saved, which means the enemy didn't exist and you need to delete it out of here. The problem with this loop is that if you do that, no matter what happens, whether you break or you actually complete, it always executes this complete, which means every enemy gets destroyed. So you have to make a custom for each loop with break. That's why I have this new over here. And it's a slight modification to the original one. So what you can do is you can right click and go to Blueprint here and just click Blueprint Macro Library, and you're going to just make this an object type and hit select, and you can just call it new macro. Anyway, when you open it up, you're going to see this, an input and an output pin. And what you need to do is, if you double click on the for each loop with break, you'll see all of this stuff. You're just going to copy everything, Control C, and you're going to paste it into this new macro. And you see it will automatically have gotten rid of the input and the output. So what you need to do now is look at this input, and you'll hit this plus button here to make a few inputs, and same thing with the output. You hit this plus button down here on the outputs and you'll make a few outputs like that. I can show you guys here. I'm not going to go over all of this. I'm just going to show you the changes that you need to make after you copy and paste and make it look exactly like this one with these 4 outputs and these 3 inputs. What you're going to end up doing, this is the modified macro, and you'll see you add this branch node here right after the false, and you're going to put the true right here is going to go into the completed, but the false is going to go into a new execution, broken. So you want your output to actually look like this. You're going to add this extra pin here called broken and make it of type execution. That's the only thing you have to modify here. You have to add a branch node here that comes after the original branch off of the false. And then you'll see they have a not node in the standard. It's up here, this one. And all you're going to do is drag another wire off of that, as you can see here, and it's going to go into your branch node. So once you have that set up, so these 3 changes, you'll now have, let's save this. You'll now have this, a for each loop with break or whatever you called it, and you should be able to search for it like this, and it should just come up. So this is the one that we're going to be using here. And from this loop body we're going to have a branch. And if it's true, we're actually going to loop back around to the break here. Grab this. Now we're going to right click here and split our struct. And you want to look for this array element enemy index. This is our struct index. We want to say equal. And the index we want to check is actually going to be from this enemy. We'll say get enemy stuff. We'll split this. And we'll check if this index equals the one that we have saved. If it's true, then you can break. Nothing happens. We'll leave this broken pin with nothing. Off the completed pin, we'll say destroy actor. So if it loops through this entire array here, which is the saved enemies, and it doesn't find anything, so it completes, that means that enemy wasn't saved, which means you killed him. So we will remove him here. Now once you're done with this off of the false, we want to do one more thing. We'll have a branch, and we're going to check and see if this is from a saved game. So because we used an AND here, this could be false either because the length is not greater than 0, or because it was from a save, or because it wasn't from a saved game. So if it wasn't from a saved game, that means that all the enemies should still be there. But if it was from a saved game, then we're going to destroy everybody because that means you killed them all. So if this is true, we're going to have another for each loop, and we will plug our enemy array here, and then we're going to call destroy actor. Okay, so this is our little Grim Reaper. Compile and save. So now we can go into our level blueprint, and we're going to need a reference. So we have our Grim Reaper 2 selected. Can go back into our level, right click, create reference to Grim Reaper 2, and we will say call Death Angel. So hit compile and save, and I believe that's all we need. So now I'm going to go back to my main menu. I'm going to hit play, go to a new game. See this little deleted up here? So I got rid of our previous saved game. And now I'm going to kill this guy, this guy, this guy, and that one. So out of the 7, we only have 3 left. I will save. I'm going to hit escape. Now we're going to load up our saved game. And everybody's there. Not what we wanted. Okay. Escape. Let's see what happened. Okay guys, so I think I found the culprit. This needs to actually be hooked up here. So hit compile and save. And then we will go back. I also changed this save game here to just come after the completed. It really doesn't need to be saving after each loop. So we will hit save. We will try this again. Hit play, new game, delete everything. Now let's try again. Kill you two and that guy. So we should have 4 left. We'll hit save, and we'll load up our saved game. And as you can see, we have 4 left. Alright guys, I hope you thought that was helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more tutorials. Alright, see you guys later.